my friends. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I got some shirts made up. That's me, Oscar Jupiter, YouTube channel. My last video with regards to how not to get a ticket once you're pulled over actually got more views than I was told it was going to get. So I decided to do another video about the law and police. So this one is on, and this applies to Maryland. Part of it applies in every 50 states, but part of it applies just to Maryland. And it deals with providing an ID to a law enforcement official. So in Maryland, Maryland is not an ID state, meaning the police, law enforcement, cannot just stop you and ask you who you are. You do not have to carry ID in Maryland. This is not Nazi Germany. You do not have to have papers. However, when you drive a vehicle, an automobile, truck, whatever, you do need to have a license. And if a police officer pulls you over, you do have to show your driver's license. And if the police officer asks for proof of insurance, registration, you do have to show that. And if the police officer tells you to get out of the car, you do have to do that. Walking down the street, riding a bicycle, whatever, there's no requirement for you to carry an ID or to even have an ID. A police officer can't just stop you just because. A police officer has to have a reason to stop you. So if you're walking down the street and for no other reason a police officer rides by and you look at him or her and then they stop or they back up and come to you or whatever and they ask you for your name, you do not have to give it. If they ask you for ID, you do not have to give it. This is even if you're riding a bicycle. Doesn't matter. No need for ID. However, police officer stops you and asks for ID. You ask, am I being detained? And if the police officer says no, then you're free to walk away. If the police officer says, yes, you are being detained, then you want to ask why and ask if you don't show ID if you're going to be arrested. So you would show your ID under threat of arrest, and then you can complain later if in fact that stop was illegal. You can contact the ACLU of Maryland, and they have investigators. But the most important thing to remember is you're walking down the street, not doing anything wrong, police officer stops you, or just rides by and stops, you do not have to provide any ID. You do not have to identify yourself. If you were riding a bicycle and if you were breaking the law and you get stopped, or you're riding that bicycle where you're not supposed to be riding it and you are stopped, you do have to identify yourself if the police officer asks you, because if you're going to receive a citation or drive an automobile, you have to identify yourself. Do you have to have an ID with you when you're riding a bike? No. But if the police officer asks who you are and information, you cannot lie. That's a crime. This all goes into one of the biggest things that's happening right now, which is really probably more of an issue, although it's becoming less and less of an issue, and that is videotaping. You are allowed to videotape anything and everything in public. Nobody has an expectation of privacy in public. So you've all probably seen the videos online. There's a bunch made in Maryland. There's a bunch made all over the place. You're allowed to videotape the police. You're allowed to videotape the police when they stop you. You're allowed to videotape the police when they're stopping somebody else, with the caveat of, if the police officer asks you to back up, you have to back up. There are no rules, there are no regulations, there are no court cases that say what that distance is. There's nothing that says, if a police officer tells you to move a football field away, that's kind of not going to fly. If the police officer asks you to move 10 yards away, 20 yards away, that'll probably fly, depending on what the stop is. And there's no court case determining that. And so unless you want to be the first court case, if the police officer asks you to move back while you're videotaping, then do it. Most police officers now have had a training that they know you're allowed to videotape. Are there bad apples in the bunch? Yes, there's bad apples in every bunch. Attorneys, accountants, doctors, realtors, whatever. But are most police officers good? Yes, most police officers are good. Most police officers know that you're allowed to film. Riding by a government building, you can film it. Walking by a government facility with a fence, you can hold your camera up and film right through that fence. You're allowed to do any of that anywhere. So that's just a little quick synopsis that I thought you might find interesting. Believe it or not, there are a lot of people who don't know what I just told you. There are a lot of people that think, and I'm a little blue, there are a lot of people that think you have to identify yourself. You have to carry ID with you, demonstrating who you are. No, that's not true. There are a lot of people think that you can't film them when they're in public. They're like, you need my permission. I just had an encounter like that about a week ago when I was filming something. And I told that person, you're public. You have no expectation of privacy. So there's a lot of people who don't understand that. Hello, my friends. This is an addition, an addendum to my ID video, and it's because recently I've been watching some YouTube channels where they are talking about people who have gotten in trouble filming YouTube videos in national parks because there is a law. And I commented on a couple different channels saying, hey, First Amendment, you can do any filming in public, photos filming in public for a commercial or non-commercial reason. And that is true. And so these YouTube channels, not with any intentional malice or whatever, they're not attorneys, and they did not, I don't think, knew anything about the law. They were just like repeating stories they heard. And so one story was about a couple who were filming with a drone. And so first, drones are aircraft, and they have special rules and restrictions. Special licenses you need for commercial purposes, special licenses you need if they weigh more than 249 grams. And so in and of itself, filming with a drone is not an issue, but filming with a drone could be an issue if you do not have the proper licenses. And there are specific rules with regards to filming in states have rules, and the federal government has rules with regarding where you can fly a drone. So notwithstanding the drone issue, these YouTubers were talking about, hey, I'm not going to film any more YouTube videos in national parks because the law requires a permit for commercial filming. Well, that's kind of true. The law was created in 2000 before the advent of YouTube. It was created for the purpose of regulating Steven Spielberg type productions in the national parks because one, the federal government doesn't want the national parks damaged or destroyed, and they do not want the visitors and the general public impacted by somebody trying to make a buck off of a natural resource. That is the purpose of the law. What does the law say? It says you need a permit for a commercial purpose. If you're making a video for a commercial purpose, what does the law also say, and what does the government say? If you're making a video, YouTube or otherwise, for a commercial purpose, and it's newsworthy. It is news. You do not need a permit. So first, what is the news? Well, the news is information that helps the public. The news has a broad definition. Look it up. That's one thing. The other thing is photos for commercial purposes, 100% fine. Live streaming, because it's proximate, it's newsworthy, is fine. And YouTubing in general for profit in national parks, go online, look at all the YouTubers that do it, and do not get in trouble. The issue is when you have a production. Now, this law was not being enforced until a few years ago. And a better case about this law is a man named Price, who got in trouble for filming in a national park. And he took it to court, and he won in federal court at the lower level. Then it was reversed on the higher level, and the government one said, yes, you do need a permit. And then they petitioned for a writ of certiorari to the Supreme Court, which I don't think the Supreme Court took the case. And one reason was it wasn't really a good case to challenge the law. Why? Because Mr. Price made a movie. He had a crew, he had a set. He made a movie in a national park without a permit. And that's kind of the purpose of the law. And that kind of makes sense because arguably Mr. Price was creating more of an impact than just a YouTuber filming different things in the park for her monetized channel. So, can you film in national parks? Yes. Can you take videos in national parks or photos in national parks? Yes. Can you live stream in national parks? Yes. For a commercial purpose? Yes. Should you get a permit if you're going to make a production? Yes. If you're going to impact the public or potentially impact the public, should you get a permit? Yes. Below, there's a great article from the Harvard Law Review that gives a easy to read for even a lay person, a synopsis of the law, actually a synopsis of the Price case, and basically concludes what almost every attorney says. First Amendment right, and which the lower court federal judge said, First Amendment right to film for any purpose. And even the government and the statute recognizes, yes, you can film for a commercial purpose if it's newsworthy. And so the question is, what is newsworthy? Well, damn near anything is newsworthy. So it's an open issue still whether you can do productions. Is the Park Service or the federal government going to come after a YouTuber for making a video of Mount Rushmore or something like that when they just have their camera and they're there? Probably not, no. The people who received the fine that was the genesis for these YouTubers, they didn't even pay the fine. They told the government they didn't know, and the government said, okay, you don't have to pay the fine, just don't do it again. And I think they were droners. So go below, read the article, and if you want to try to change, amend, strike this law so that there's no doubt whatsoever about your ability as a YouTuber or any non-newsworthy filmer, commercial purpose, whatever. I actually wrote a letter to my congressman yesterday, and I sent a copy of that law review article and said, hey, you all need to change this. You either need to strike the law or amend it to make it clear that YouTubers or other people can film in national parks, and then clarify that the whole purpose is no movie productions without a permit, that you need a permit only in limited circumstances. So, I'm not monetized, but will I film anywhere and everywhere? Yes. Why? If I had the opportunity to go to Mount Rushmore, would I film it and post it? Yes. Would I make a production with lights and camera and action and people without a permit? No. So check out the links below. Go online. There are tons of YouTubers filming all over the place, federal property and everything. Amagansett Press, watching the Watchman, tons of them. Watch those videos and you will see people just like you exercising their First Amendment rights, not being sheep, not being bullied by the government, and filming. And so can you film videos for commercial purpose in national parks? 100% absolutely yes. So anyway, I hope you got some tidbits. Check out the Harvard Law Review article below. Contact your congressman and say, hey, you need to fix this, clarify this. And I hope you got something good out of this. I love you all. See ya.